Thank you so much. My name is Patty Linson. He's been trying to get this straight for quite some time. So don't move too far. We're kind of strapped together. So anyway, this is for the camera. But thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And I am, first of all, I'm going to tell you about who I am. I am a local. I was born and raised in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I have been, I'm a real estate agent who's involved with short-term rentals. So I started this in 1988, not short-term rentals. I started my career. But I have been involved in short-term rentals since about 2018. So I found someone who is phenomenal, who does my management. I don't do any of that side. I stay in my lane, he does his lane, and my investors have been doing very well. I have my own, and so probably about last year, I saw a real shift. So all of a sudden, probably like everybody else, I had the county showing up, knocking on my door. They're gonna get in, and some pretty hefty fines. I think they were trying to get 50,000. And so I was like, what the heck is going on? So I then found these two. So February, I found these two. I also went and met with the president of code enforcement and got his story and started talking to these two. And what I saw was, to me, I'm so thankful and grateful that I had to spend $10,000 out of my pocket to fight, a little fight. And so these two are in there, in the ring, they're in the ring kicking ass, while I felt like I was kind of sitting back. I was maybe donating a little bit here and there, but I just felt so compelled to volunteer and help, and whatever I can do, because I've been here a long time. I know some people. I feel like I can be a real contribution to what they're up to, and so that's like this is my first introduction with you all, and I really see us as a community. I really, really do, that together, united, if we stand and we support these two and let them fight for us, rather than I have to fight myself, you have to fight yourself, we all have to spend $250,000 each, and nothing happens. But together, strong, I really think that we can knock this out of the park. And I know that people are watching us from all over the country. So that's pretty much my little 2 cents, and back to you.
Thank you, Patty. Shame on me. I'm very sorry. I asked how many new people we had here, and there was a lot of hands. And I'm just assuming everybody knows who the heck I am. I'm so sorry. So my name is Koorndyk, and I'm the co-founder of the Greater Las Vegas Short-Term Rental Association. Jackie Flores, she's going to be doing a whole lot of speaking in a little bit. Jackie Flores is the founder of the Greater Las Vegas Short-Term Rental Association. So Jackie Flores and Koorndyk, yes, we are the Greater Las Vegas Short-Term Rental Association. We've been fighting on your behalf for years now. And we have been, I gotta say it, we've been kicking some butt. We really have. I'm proud of our work. I'm proud of the volunteers. I'm proud of the donations. We're going to talk more about that later. Jack is going to be filling you in on where we're at now legally. So for those of you who do not know, last week we officially filed to the Nevada Supreme Court. So we are on our way to the Nevada Supreme Court. We have plenty to talk about, but I'm going to introduce one more host that wanted to say a few words. His name is Johnny Dortch. He's also a host here in the Valley. Johnny, why don't you come on up here? I know you wanted to say a few words. And then after you, Johnny, we're going to be speaking on a few more things here. And then you all know how you can help. Because here's the deal, guys. We need your help. We absolutely cannot do this without you. We really, really need your help. So, right now I'm going to introduce Johnny Dortch. Come on up here, Johnny. Shake my hand, please. Good to see you. Here you go. Tell these people about yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Louis, and thank you, Jackie, for doing this. This is an incredible turnout tonight. I love this because we need this kind of community in this community. I think we all know where they're going with this, and without these fighters right here, we would be up shit's creek without a paddle. Sorry, I'm not very politically correct. Again, my name's Johnny Dortch. I got started about 10 years ago in short-term rental. I started in Hawaii, and I was ran out of the island because they didn't like short-term rental any more than Las Vegas does. And back then it was still kind of new, right? Short-term rental was, Airbnb was kind of like just getting started in terms of like word of mouth and X, Y, and Z. And so Hawaii had some experience with short-term rental, you know, before Airbnb, so they kind of already had laws in the books and had a kind of an enforcement team. So I decided to take my business and move to Las Vegas. When I got to Las Vegas, I was kind of doing the rental thing, where I would rent a house, talk to the owners. Owners would rent it back to me for an exorbitant rate, and then, you know, I would make money on short-term rental. Fast forward to where I started managing people's properties and doing short-term rental, and then started buying my own X, Y, and Z, and here I am now. I've done everything from room rental, hostel, whole house rental, wedding venues, everything you can think of, I've probably done it. With that being said, I've, like you guys all have, had experience with code enforcement. I've had experience with Las Vegas Metro because they're starting to use them now. And I've had experiences with the county commissioners as well as the state senators and you know, state representatives. What I can tell you is that things are not going to get better until we have a legitimate fight at the state Supreme Court. We have a legitimate community come together, which is again why I'm so excited to see you guys here today, because they are counting on attacking us individually. I mean, these guys, you know, we have to band together because code enforcement will come to your house, they will harass you, they will make you feel like you are all alone and that they are somehow Gestapo and that they got to shut you down. And they will run negative news ads on television telling you, which is what they do, telling you that short-term rental is bad. Let me be the first to tell you, short-term rental, and you guys already know this, but I just want to repeat it, short-term rental is not the enemy. It is not the enemy. We know that the money is great, but we also know that the people are great. The people that we host and we see daily, the people that stay in our house, that we open our house up to, the ones that stay in our property that we may not live in, but we get to know those guests. They love short-term rental. We love short-term rental. Our neighbors love short-term rental. Some of them do, some of them don't because whatever. But most of them, exactly, yeah, some of them do because they know the gig. Others don't because they're jealous. We all know that. Trust me, I've been there, okay? But nonetheless, we know how good it is for our community, okay? The county commissioners have made it their point to try and harass you and I. They've taken issue to short-term rental not because they think it's bad for the community. That's BS. That's the line they spew. They've taken an issue because they have already allocated all of the resources for this state, all of the things that they plan on doing, they've already reallocated it to the hotel casinos. The Resorts Association and the local casino association, they've all come together and they're whispering in the county commissioner's ears, hey, shut down short-term rental and get whole of government to shut us down. That's where all of us come into play because we're not gonna let that happen, are we? We're not gonna let that happen. We're not gonna let them take away our livelihood because I don't know about you guys, but this is my form of income. I've made this my livelihood. And I'm not gonna let them take it away because they've determined that short-term rental is bad. And so I'm just here to tell you guys that know that I joined this association because I was part of a competing association prior to joining the Greater Las Vegas Short-Term Rental Association.
Uh-oh, is it going dead?
Possibly. I was part of a competing organization, but I can tell you right here, right now, this is honestly the best organization you can be part of. And I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up here today. I hope that you guys make it your mission to take it to the county. That could be showing up to the county meetings and letting your county commissioner have it when they try to ramrod legislation down our throats and tell us that we're bad people. Or it could be just donating to the Greater Las Vegas Short-Term Rental Association because that helps too. Or it could be just going out and helping your fellow community members here by showing up and videotaping when code enforcement decides to harass your neighbors, you know, talking about each other that you're sitting next to. Showing up and letting them know that they're not going to come there with their, you know, I always make a joke and I say the next step is they're gonna put a freaking badge on their forehead because they care. When they come to your house, they come with it on their hip, they come with it on your shoulder, they come with it everywhere. So they're not gonna intimidate you and do that without, you know, the community standing up. So I want you guys to know, thank you for showing up, and I hope that we can take this fight right to the county and show them that we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. We are here to stay.
Thank you, Johnny. You know, as you can all tell, I'm not a professional speaker. So since we have so many new people here, I suppose I should actually tell you who I am. So again, I am Koorndyk. I've been a short-term rental operator for years now. And you all have your stories on why you went on this journey. Some of you are whole home, some of you are home share. We represent absolutely everybody. For myself, my parents reached the age where they could no longer take care of themselves. And so I invested into a property that I rented out on a short-term basis. So anyway, I had to put my parents in assisted living. And so I started renting my property out on a short-term basis, and everything was working out fantastic. My parents had top quality care. Everybody was happy. This mic is driving me. I think we're losing the mic, but I'll keep trying. Anyway, my parents, I started getting letters from the county telling me, cease and desist, you're not allowed to rent your property out on a short-term basis. Naturally, I explained why I'm doing it. The fact the income is taking care of my parents, it's covering the assisted living, and making the house payment. Everybody's happy. Contributing to the community, employing housekeepers, pool, everybody's happy. What's the issue? Neighbors? No. Just brought to their attention, and it's against the law. So once I received $60,000 in liens against my property, I had to stop and I had to pull my parents out of assisted living. Now I'm an only child and this responsibility was on my shoulders, so I felt I kind of failed my parents there. Make a long story short, Airbnb then started their own page. They asked me to be the moderator of their page, and I did. I found Jackie, who was making posts talking about short-term rentals, and I'm like, oh my God, this woman is making sense. I love the fact we are thinking identically. We are both on the same page. And I said, Jackie, you gotta join this fight. It took a couple of tries and eventually she agreed. Best day of all your lives is when Jackie decided to join the fight. So that was a great day. It wasn't long after that, Jackie said, you know what, Lewis, we just gotta start our own association. There's other people in the fight, they're not doing it right and they're not listening. So I said, let's do it. The most important thing is everybody wasn't being represented, especially home share. So that's when Jackie said, let's start our own association. And then that day, we started making history. We went down the right path. We wanted to be transparent. We wanted everybody to be included. And we wanted everybody to be part of the fight. And now look where we are now. We're going to the Nevada Supreme Court, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'd like to ask Patty to come up here one more time to say a few words. Or, okay, let's go with her, Jackie Flores, ladies and gentlemen. Jackie, why don't you come on up here? Jackie, you have your own mic too, right?
Get this out of your way. You need another drink or?
He's going to change the batteries in the mic for us.
You guys okay?
Yeah, I'll just need a refill myself a while.
Got it. You come back to it.
Yeah.
Miss you okay? Ladies, all right? You need a box? You done?
Take this.
Okay.
Test, test. Ladies and gentlemen, the founder of the Greater Las Vegas Short-Term Rental Association, Jackie Flores.
Thank you, Louis. Welcome, everyone. I'm really happy to see all of you guys here tonight. You know, like Louis said, we have been working really hard, and one of the biggest difficult thing to do is to bring everybody together. We have been working with Airbnb, with Verbo, in trying to get the word out to people, and we understand that a lot of you guys, you know, are afraid to make yourself known because of what's happening in the county. But that's the reason why we need to come together. See, that's the reason why the county has gotten this far, because they know that they can intimidate each and every one of us, and they can get away with what they're doing. And so, you know, it's important for us to continue to stay together and come together and fight together. Louis and I cannot do this fight alone, you know, and the reason why we're here where we are today is because many of you guys supported us and have decided to fight with us. But now we're moving to a different level of fighting. Like Louis said, you know, we're moving to the Nevada Supreme Court. That fight is going to be really tough. But at the same time, you know, our law firm and other attorneys that have looked at our legal case, everyone feels very confident that we have a winning fight. We have the ability to beat the county and to beat the state. And unfortunately for them, you know, it's going to be a very painful defeat for them, because when they started passing the regulations, Louis and I were trying to work with them. For years, we went to the county and we spoke to the commissioners, asking them to pass regulations for short-term rentals. And every time, you know, we would do that, the Culinary Union and the Nevada Resort Association would be there against short-term rentals. And of course, you know, whatever we had to say didn't matter. And it was always whatever the Nevada Resort Association wanted and whatever the Culinary Union wanted. For years, this kept happening. And so they were not listening to us, they were not listening to you guys, because they didn't see us as a threat. So, you know, fast forward in a few years, we again kept going to the county. We were also in Henderson trying to meet with officials there when they passed the regulations there. And we were trying to give them a perspective about short-term rentals that they don't have. See, they're trying to regulate an industry that they do not understand. And also they're trying to regulate it in a way where, you know, even if you get a license, they are creating rules and regulations designed to get you in trouble so you can lose that license. In the city of Henderson, for example, if you, I believe they still have the 3 strikes, and if you get 3 strikes, then they take away your license for something very simple as you forgetting to turn your backyard lights off, or if you don't put your trash cans in. And the problem with that is that they have given neighbors the ability to come after you. A neighbor can just call and complain without any proof whatsoever, and then the city turns around and tells you that you have to prove that you're innocent. And if you cannot do that, that's a strike against you and you get fines. So the approach that public officials have taken over the years has been passing regulations that punish us, that makes criminals out of homeowners, criminals out of renters, and it's just not the way that we feel that it should be done. So the reason why we created the association again was because we needed to have something to bring everybody together. If we start just dividing ourselves, we're gonna lose the fight. I know there were other associations that only wanted certain people, to be involved, but we felt that we needed the home share people, and we needed the people that do whole home rentals as well. And that's actually turned out to be a super important thing in our lawsuit, because now the county is treating both groups the same way. So when we now go to court, it's really difficult for the county to explain how they're going to pass a rule that says that after 10 p.m. your lights in your backyard have to be off. After 10 p.m. that you cannot use your pool or your spa or your barbecue. So the question in court, when we were in court last year, the judge said, well, you need to tell me that if you own your own property and you're renting out a room, then the property owner cannot use their pool after 10 p.m. They cannot do a barbecue. So, that kind of backfired on the county. And a lot of the things are, happening where the county has done so many things to over-regulate operators in short-term renting that now everything is coming to bite them on the butt. So our focus has been with the regulations on the legality of the different things that they have passed. A lot of people seem to only look at an ordinance or a regulation, the first part of the regulation, which is licensing. But the other part of the regulations that's super important is the enforcement part of the regulation. Because, you can get a license today, but if you break one of the rules, that license could be taken away tomorrow. So when we look at the regulation, we spent time looking and going through page by page and looking at every single thing that the county put in there, which went beyond what the state said. So just to give you a little bit of background for the new people. In 2021 was when the state passed the short-term rental regulation, the short-term rental law. And the reason why they passed that law, and this is actually came from the person who introduced the bill, was because the county did not have a mechanism in place to regulate short-term rentals. Their deal was that the county has had a ban for so many years and it's not working. And the county started the ban back in 1998. So since 1998, the county has said you cannot do short-term renting in a residential zone. And so ever since then, they've been giving people fines, $1,000 a day. Many people have racked up over $100,000 in fines and liens. Many of them haven't paid them. Many of those fines are still there on the records. Some people have paid them, of course, but the vast majority of people have not. So during the ban, Clark County was issuing these fines, and despite the ban that they had all these years, short-term rentals kept operating. The vast majority kept operating, and they were growing at the same time, so the county could not stop it. There was no way for them to stop it. So the legislature felt that they needed to pass regulations to actually force the county to make short-term rentals legal in the county, to create a licensing scheme for people to get a license. And so that sounded great for a lot of people. When everybody heard the state is going to pass a law that's going to force the county to create a short-term rental licensing program, and everybody was happy. But again, you have to look at the details of the law. The state bill created a lot of restrictions in that bill. For example, they had a 660-foot distance restriction between short-term rentals, so that means if you get a license but somebody else is too close to you, then that person cannot get a license. They also created a distance restriction between a short-term rental and a casino, 2,500 feet. Now, that means that if you're within 2,500 feet of a resort hotel, you cannot even apply for a license. Now, just thinking of that, the first thing that came to my mind is like, how can they do that? How can the government pass a regulation saying that if you're too close to a casino, then your ability to get licensed is just out the window. It didn't make sense. Property rights, of course, was the first thing that came to mind. Some of our other members in our group are saying, essentially what these public officials are doing is they're selling our property rights to the casinos. Now the casinos get to mandate who they want to be doing business within 2,500 feet of their property. So that was two of those restrictions. The other restrictions that they had was on the number of people that could be in a short-term rental, the number of licenses that you could have, and they put several other restrictions in there. Again, those are the things that people missed. The only thing they saw was the state is making short-term rentals legal. Now, there was another thing that the state put in there, and it said that the county could not make it any less restrictive than the state law, but they could make it as restrictive as they want. So, of course, we know that Clark County does not like short-term rentals. So what did the county do? They made it even more restrictive. So instead of 660 feet distance restriction, they raised it to 1,000. Instead of allowing 6 licenses per person, like the state said, the county said 1 license per person. So if you have multiple properties and you have them under different LLCs or entities, the county doesn't care. If you are the actual natural person behind each entity, you only get 1 license. And then, of course, the county created several other different restrictions. If you're in a septic tank, you cannot get a license. You cannot apply for a license. You have to connect to city sewer. And now we know that there's a lot of people that are connected to septic tank. And we have heard that in order to connect to city sewer, the cost could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so, some people might say, well, I'm willing to do that investment. Some people might say, I'm willing to pay all that money. The problem is that the county also said we're going to do a lottery. So imagine you're spending all this money to prepare your short-term rental. You also have to spend money to get your insurance for your short-term rental. You have to spend money to get all these electronic devices and cameras, but then you're not guaranteed to get a license. So it just, it was obvious that the county had no interest in creating common sense rules and regulations. It was obvious that the county was not willing to work with the host community at all. So we had no choice but to sue. And so in order for us to be able to go to that step, Louis and I don't have, hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that lawsuit by ourselves, because that's how much it's costing. And of course, every time our attorneys have to reply and prepare paperwork, how much it costs, to hire an attorney. And well, of course, those fees continue to go up. It also got to the point where when we filed our lawsuit, let me go back, just AB 363, the state bill was passed in June of 2021, so 2 years ago. That bill, again, mandated that the county create a short-term rental licensing program by July of last year, July of 2022. The county wasted time. After the legislature passed the bill, the county wasted so much time. They tried to make the problem more complicated and the process even convoluted by injecting neighbors, by trying to get their response, by trying to pass this survey asking neighbors, what they thought about short-term rentals. And of course, the county has spent years and years vilifying short-term rentals. Every time they speak of short-term rentals, they call them party houses. They talk about nuisance issues, shootings, stabbings. We know that sometimes something like that happens, but it's very rare in short-term rentals. But we also know that it happens in other rentals as well. In fact, the biggest incident that we had in Las Vegas happened in a resort hotel. So, our argument has been, so are you going to start banning casinos because there was a mass shooting? You're going to start shutting down long-term rentals because there's also issues with them? You don't do that stuff with everyone else, but with short-term rentals, is the only group of people that they're treating this way. So the county was required to have a law in place, a licensing process in place, as of July of last year. The county passed the regulation on June of last year. But then they had created a program, the licensing process for it, which made it so complicated and convoluted that they didn't even finish completing the whole process. They just said, yes, we're gonna start doing the licensing process, but they didn't know how it was gonna play out. So July 1st of 2022 came, effective that day, and this is important for all of you guys to understand, because if you get fines from the county, it's important to know when you got the fine and under what code. When the county had the ban on short-term rentals, they were using what's called Title 30. Title 30, it was the regulation that they had in place that banned basically short-term rentals in residential neighborhoods. Under that code, they were giving $1,000 a day fines to anybody that was operating. As of July 1st, the state legislature said that is the day when the new law was supposed to go into effect. And also the day when Title 30, the ban on short-term rentals, was supposed to be repealed, completely gone. So as of July 1st of last year, not only was the county supposed to have a licensing process in place, but their ban on short-term rentals expired, is gone, doesn't exist anymore. Now the county of course keeps saying, well, yes, we're not supposed to have a ban anymore, but if you don't have a license, you're not supposed to be operating. And since you don't have a license, we're gonna give you a fine. So that's what they started to do. July 1st came, they did not have a licensing process in place, and they were still going out giving people fines because they didn't have a license. So how can somebody get a license when they don't have the licensing program in place? That was one of the issues. Well, so that happened in July 1st. The law changed. We filed our lawsuit on August of 2022, August of last year. And again, that was thanks to so many property owners that came together. We needed to raise about $40,000, $50,000 at that time just to file the lawsuit. And lucky for us, a lot of homeowners did come together. They helped us come up with that money. We were able to hire this law firm, which is one of the top law firms in the state of Nevada. These guys are amazing. Every other attorney that has dealt with short-term rentals, they haven't had the bandwidth and the ability to put up a fight against the county. Well, the law firm that we have, this is what they do. The law firm that we have has experience going after local government and state government. They have the experience fighting for property rights and constitutional issues, which is what this is. When we were bringing those issues to the Clark County Commissioners, not only were the Clark County Commissioners saying, you guys are crazy, we have the authority to regulate, so we can do this. But we also had some homeowners, short-term rental owners, agreeing with the county, saying, well, the county should be, they have the authority to pass regulations. But that's not the case. The county and the state can pass regulations, but they cannot violate people's constitutional protections while doing it. And that's the problem with the current regulation and the state bill. And for that reason, we did file the lawsuit on August of 2022. So what does the county do once we file the lawsuit?
Wait for it.
They turn around and then they countersue the association and they countersue me personally. They accused me of racketeering, of running an illegal enterprise, of encouraging homeowners to break the law, and so they were going hard at it. Of course, it was their attempt to try to shut me down, try to say, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. And that was actually, one of the things that we were considering when we were getting ready to file the lawsuit. We had some property owners that were going to be named as plaintiffs in the lawsuit because we needed to show that these people were going to be harmed. In order for you to file a lawsuit anywhere in court, you have to show that you have what's called standing. That means that you have the right to file this lawsuit. So we needed to put the association, and then we needed to put somebody there. So at the end, at the very last end, our attorney thought, it's probably best if we don't put the other homeowners' names on the lawsuit because, you never know. The county might retaliate. Mm-hmm. So then it was decided that it was just the association and my name as the founder of the association.
Even took me off.
And yes, and we had to take Lewis's name off. And it was also important because we needed somebody that could stick through to the end of the fight. If we have somebody's name on the lawsuit and that person decides, hey, I'm just sold my house, I'm not in short-term renting anymore, I'm out, then our lawsuit falls apart. So that was the decision that was made, and we kept it that way. And I'm glad it was kept that way because we know that a lot of those property owners would have been intimidated. They would have felt, afraid of the county coming after them. In my case, I don't think I was afraid. I don't think I was afraid when everybody around me was afraid. But I just laughed it off and I said, of course, and I'm not surprised that the county is doing this. But I'm also not afraid because, I heard stories like Lewis's story, where he was just trying to take care of his parents. And then he gets hit with fines just for doing that. I've heard stories from other property owners, senior citizens on a fixed income. They're just doing it to make ends meet. And then they're going after those people. And then, you have family members who have a job, but their income is not enough. And they want to pay, their bills, send their kids off to college. And then they're getting in trouble. And these are the people that the county is picking a fight with, and I think I have it in me to fight for the underdog, to speak up, when somebody's doing something against somebody else. And so I was like, we have to do something, and I didn't know what we needed to do because, Lewis and I have never been involved in something like this. We're not politicians. We're not anything like that. But I feel like we have to do something, and I thought, let's create the association, let's start bringing people together. And I was fired up. I was like, I don't know what we need to do, but I know we can do something. And the first thing that we need to do is come together. And from day one, I was saying, the only way that we're going to beat the county and the state is in court. There's no way. They're not willing to sit down and talk to us. They're not willing to do anything that's common sense. Their attitude is, if you don't like it, sue us. Period. That's their attitude. So I feel like something needed to be done. And so yes, I was fine with my name being on the lawsuit. When they countersue us, I was like, what do I have to lose? If worst comes to worst, I lose my house, but I can start again. But I know that somebody that's 83 years old, retired on a fixed income can't. I know somebody that's, disabled cannot. People that have families, they have a lot more to lose. So I was willing to be put in there in that fight and be the voice for all of you guys because I believe in this fight. I believe that the county and the state are abusing their power. And I believe that they're going to have a black eye at the end of the day because this is not going to pass. This is not going to be found constitutional. When we filed the lawsuit, our hearing after that was on December. And then the judge that we got was a really a really good judge. The first thing she said when she looked at the county counter lawsuit against us was, she told the district attorney, you know what? I gotta tell you, this lawsuit against Ms. Flores and the association is extremely retaliatory. I'm dismissing this lawsuit. And that got thrown out. So that was a huge sign for us, because then we knew that we had a judge that was actually impartial, that was a judge, that was applying the law that as it should be. Because unfortunately, when it comes to district court, you don't always have a judge like that. And we've seen it, because we know of other attorneys that have filed lawsuits in district court, and some judges are not willing to go against the county. I mean, they have said it on the record that it is not their job to second guess the county. And I'm like, what? It is their job. It is the job of the courts to actually see if the county is violating the law. But some judges are not willing to do it. So we were blessed with a judge that is willing to look at the law and rule based on the law. She threw that case out. We had a counter lawsuit against the county for doing that. And of course, the county quickly turned around and asked the judge to dismiss our counter lawsuit, because that would have cost actually the county money. So that happened, and then we started our case, and we were asking for a preliminary injunction. Now, a lot of people hear this phrase, preliminary injunction, and even us when we started, and we thought, okay, well, that'll be great if we can get one, but we didn't have a clue how difficult it is to get one. When you have a regulation like this, the county passed it on June. July came, we filed the lawsuit. The licensing program was not going to start until later that year. It's really difficult for the court to say, well, we're going to grant you the injunction, because first you have to prove that there's damage that has occurred. So, for example, they would have done the licensing, and then we would not have gotten a license, or something would have happened to us. Then, since we had an injury, then we could file the lawsuit and ask for an injunction. What we're asking was for a preliminary injunction, which means an injunction before something happens. And that's usually not granted by the court. There's a super high standard for that to be granted. So we needed to prove to the court that our entire lawsuit that we filed, we had a very high likelihood of success. So what happens then after the hearing, we got the preliminary injunction. Now that's super important to know, because the judge basically is signaling that our lawsuit has a very high likelihood of success, and that's why she's granted the preliminary injunction. And just so you know, she granted it in part, which means that everything that we asked for, we didn't get. We got some of it, not everything. Why? Because some of it, the judge said it's a matter of first impression. Again, another phrase that we had to learn. Basically, it means that a lot of the arguments that we're making are arguments that have never been decided in a court here in Nevada. So normally what a judge does is, if you have an argument, you have to prove to them with cases, past cases and past rulings. This is why you have to rule in my favor, because look, this judge did this judge ruled in that favor as well, just like mine, so you have to rule in this favor. Well, in Nevada, this is the first time that the state of Nevada created short-term rental laws. So there's never been a lawsuit in the state for a judge to look back and try to make a decision. So because of that, the judge said that she was not going to grant the other arguments that we were asking for. She was going to leave it up to the Nevada Supreme Court. So that's why, even though we won the injunction, we filed an appeal to the Nevada Supreme Court, because we needed the rest of the arguments to be looked at and ruled by the court. So in the preliminary injunction, another important thing that happened there is that the judge looked at the obvious stuff, that was unconstitutional. For example, that no parties, no weddings, no gatherings in a short-term rental. That, she said, it was unconstitutional. Cannot happen. The other thing she said, was that the way that the county was saying in the ordinance that they could come to your house at any time for whatever reason, whenever they wanted, was also unconstitutional. So you have court enforcement, they had given themselves the power to come into a short-term rental without notice at any time, and you were required to give them access, or your guests. That was thrown out by the judge. Again, obvious things that should be constitutional, the judge, ruled in our favor. But one of the major things that she ruled in our favor was also the fines. The county cannot give the fines the way they have them set up in the new law. So that is a major thing for the county to lose, because under the new law, then the county has no power to give fines and penalties. But as many of you know, the county is going out there giving fines and penalties still. So this is the problem with the county. They're going to find some kind of way to still come after us, and we need to keep fighting for that fact, because we cannot let them, get away with it. So even though the county, it's prevented because of the injunction to give fines and penalties to property owners, they're still doing it. What they have done is, instead of using the new law, they have gone back to the old Title 30 and using that law to give fines and penalties. Again, which is, of course, according to our attorneys, a violation of the injunction. But just knowing that it's a violation doesn't do any good to us or to you guys who already have fines and liens, because the county just keeps on doing it. So what does that mean? It means that we have to file again something in court to tell the judge the county is not following your order and they should be ordered to stop. But one more thing that we want to ask is that the judge requires and mandates that the county give those fines that people have paid back. Because so far they have, they've gotten away with all this stuff. When they ruled that the fines and penalties under Chapter 7, the new law, was unconstitutional, people were trying to pay their fines, and the county kept saying, oh no, we cannot accept your fine. But they were keeping the fine on your record. So you couldn't pay the fine because it was ruled unconstitutional, but yet they were not clearing the record. It still shows on the record, obviously, because that's one of the things that they are appealing in the case. So just so you know, we are appealing the case to the Nevada Supreme Court. The county is also appealing, the sections that we won in district court. They're also appealing at the Nevada Supreme Court. So what we need to do now is two things. We already filed to the Nevada Supreme Court. There's several filings that have to happen in between. That's why sometimes you guys don't hear anything that's happening, but behind the scene, there's a lot of work going on. So our law firm filed the appeal on September 5th. The county has October 5th as their deadline to file their response. And then we have to file a response to their response by November 5th. And then it's our hope that by the end of the year or early next year, then this Nevada Supreme Court will hear the case. And then that's still going to require a little bit of time, because once they hear the case, then they have to make their decision, and that might come, a few months after that. And if we're successful, which we think we will, then we go back to district court, and then we start to tackle everything else. But just so you know, the things that we are fighting at the Nevada Supreme Court, this is important for some of you guys, because some of this stuff might disqualify you right now. How many of you guys apply for the license with the county? So it's very few people here in this group. So everybody else didn't apply because probably, of the restrictions, the distance restriction, the HOA restriction, the septic tank issue, the number of licenses, and obviously the big thing is because it's a lottery, right? So even if you have everything correct, if you're not lucky, you're not gonna get picked. So this is what we focus our lawsuit at the Nevada Supreme Court on. We're going after the lottery. We're going after the fact that the county has a lot of discretion on asking any documents they want at any time. We're going after the distance restriction, the 1,000 foot distance restriction and the 2,500 distance restriction between short-term rentals and the resort hotels. We're going after the septic tank restriction, after the HOA restriction. We're also going after the occupancy restriction. As you know, they only do two per bedroom, 10 maximum. We're going after that restriction. We're going after the, obviously the gatherings, parties, events. We're going after the random inspections. And then there's two other things that are super important that a lot of people don't realize that's in the code. One of the things is the county requires that if you get a license, you have to put these monitoring devices, sound devices, and security cameras. And you're required to turn over that data to the county whenever they ask for it. We're going after that because that, you know, in the attorney's opinion, that violates the privacy of the property owners and the guests. We're also going up to one important thing, and I think, personally, I think that if we win just this thing, it would be huge. Because right now, the way the ordinance is set up in any municipality is that if your guest makes noise, who gets the fine? The property owner. If your guest forgets to turn off the lights outside, or if they're using the pool after you told them not to, who gets the fine? It's the property owner. So the property owner then is being punished for the actions of someone else. And that's one of the things that we're going after. We want to eliminate that from the ordinance. That property owners or you cannot be punished for the actions of others. If the county wants to go after somebody, let them go after the guests, but not the property owner. We're also going after the 1% cap, which limits how many licenses can be given by the county. We're going after the 1 license per person. So that way, if you have more than one house, you should be allowed to get a license. Everyone here who wants to get a license should be allowed to get a license. Now, if you do something to break the rules and then you end up losing your license, well, that's a different thing. But if you want to follow the law, if you want to, be in compliance, if you want to pay the taxes, then the county should allow you to get a license. That's just the way it is in most other municipalities. But the county, of course, their program is not about licensing people. Their program is about eliminating as many short-term rentals as possible. When we started this, we thought 80% of the short-term rentals were going to be wiped out because of the restrictions that they had placed at the state level. When the county put their restrictions, we were like, oh yeah, this will eliminate more than 95% of the short-term rentals. And we're seeing it. We're seeing it. Right now, the county, as you know, we had 1,300 people that applied during the lottery. 1,300 people applied. But right now, how many people filed their actual application? It's about 840. So out of 1,300 people, only 840 have been allowed to, submit their license. For whatever reason, the other ones were eliminated. Most of it has to do with the county's issues, because the county, again, has created regulations that are convoluted, confusing, and it just, puts a lot of burdens on people that are trying to apply. So we have all these different things that we're cutting in the appeal. And so it's super important for us to continue this fight. The attorneys are putting, so much effort into this. They have spent hours, countless of hours, doing a lot of review, not just at the county level, but at the state level. We're making arguments in court that attack everything that the county is doing. And it's not easy because we have to find, again, case law, that supports our position. And they have been doing a really, really good job at this. But again, we have a lot of upcoming legal fees that we need to cover in order for us to take it to the finish line. We know that the lawsuit is filed. We've already sent it to the Nevada Supreme Court, but we still have more work to do. The county has to do theirs. We got to reply to theirs. Then they have to reply to ours. And then we have to reply to their reply. And it just keeps going. So it's important, that we come together because it's the only way. Like Patty said, when she got fines, she had to spend $10,000 out of her pocket to fight. And we've seen that happen with other property owners. People have spent $20,000, $40,000, $50,000, going to court, only to lose. Because it's not just a matter of going to court, it's a matter of having a good legal team that actually understands the law and understands every single thing at the county and state level to put up a good fight. The law firm that we have right now, they are the top law firm when it comes to short-term rentals in the state. And just so you know, when we file our appeal to the Nevada Supreme Court, we have started getting support from national groups. The Goldwater Institute, it's an institute that fights for property rights and individual rights in the United States. They just filed what's called an amicus brief, which is basically a filing in court in support of our lawsuit. So they're putting in their filing and they're supporting our lawsuit. They're supporting all the arguments that we're making. We have several other groups that are looking at doing the same thing. The ACLU is possibly might get involved as well. So there's several groups that are looking at this and they feel the same way we feel, that the county has gone too far. And that's basically our argument in court. We're saying to the judges, we're not against regulations. We're just against regulations that violate our Constitution. So I'll turn it over to Luis, and then I guess questions after that, or I don't know what's.
All right, guys. Jackie just gave you a whole lot of information to digest, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
It's kind of hard to get your head around everything. So a couple things that she was talking about, it's important for you to realize is like our law firm, it's also a political law firm. They know how to deal with politicians. We have the perfect law firm for this fight. Something else important to understand is this ordinance and bill is so ridiculous, and especially in the ordinance, they put so much in there that just seems to defy logic. Actually, we're glad to see that in there, because the more ridiculous they made the ordinance, the easier it makes our fight in court. We are making movements that they have not seen anywhere in the country. We are moving on the Nevada Supreme Court, and this is where you get excited, because we're fighting this purely on a constitutional basis, and it's a constitutional basis of which we're going to be victorious.
The other thing I wanted to say is that, again, we have some short-term rental operators who are also, in opposition of what we're doing. So it's important, to educate ourselves and also educate them, because a lot of people are under the impression that government can do this because you're doing a business, right? So that's their mentality. It's a business. That's why, they have to have regulations. And, in the filings, the lawyers are saying, well, just because you have a business doesn't mean you give up your constitutional protections. That's the bottom line, and that's what we have to keep in mind, that whether you're the homeowner or the renter, you still have protections under the Constitution. Government cannot make laws or pass regulations that take away your right to privacy, your freedom of speech, your freedom to assemble, your property rights. If they're going to pass regulations that take away your property rights, then they have to compensate you. So, those are real things that have to be taken into account when it comes to short-term rental regulations. Not just here, we're seeing it in every city across the U.S. In fact, we have groups from other cities contacting us because they're also going through something similar to this. And they're also trying to find out, what can we do? How can we do the same thing that you're doing? But it all starts with coming together. Because again, we cannot be powerful when we're fighting individually. The only way that we can put up a good fight against the county is when we come together. It's the only way. And so, we have a really good lawsuit. We have a very high likelihood of success with this lawsuit. But if we don't have the funding, and that's what the county is counting on, the county is using our taxpayers' money to fight us. They have unlimited funds, and so all they're doing is they're trying to run the clock. They're trying to see if we can run out of money. And they're right. We could run out of money. But that's why it's so important, to get everybody together. Because again, if you get a fine from the county, it's going to be a hefty fine. The last 3 weeks, I'm getting phone calls and emails from people saying that the county subpoenaed their records from Airbnb, and now they got a fine of $20,000, $30,000, and they're asking what to do. And again, I just want to mention what you need to do, because in case you do get a fine, in case you do get a notice from the county, what you need to do is look at the dates that are on the back of that notice. You get 5 days after you get that fine to file an appeal, what's called an administrative review. And that's free. You don't pay to do that. But we're asking everyone to do it, because if the county is playing dirty, and they're creating all this chaos for us, then we're going to create a lot of work for them. Because a lot of people ignore the fines and don't do anything. There's statute in the state legislature that says that if an ordinance has a criminal component, the county cannot ask a person to put a bond before they have an appeal. And the county, being so greedy that they have been when it comes to short-term rentals, that's exactly what they did. In the regulation for short-term rentals, they included a criminal component. It's a misdemeanor. Not only do you get fined $1,000 a day up to $10,000 a day if you operate without a license, but you could also get a misdemeanor as well, jail time. That makes the ordinance a criminal ordinance. And for that reason, the county is violating the law when they're asking people to pay the fine before they can have a hearing. But again, how can we fix that? The only way to fix that is going to court. So that's why it's so important for us to keep this legal fight going, because that is the only place that we're going to get any type of relief. So again, if you get a fine from the county, do the supervisory review within 5 days, and then do the administrative appeal. Right now, what we're looking at, while we're waiting for the Supreme Court to deal with our case, we're looking at filing another action against the county for violating the injunction and giving out fines and penalties. So that's another reason why we need to continue with helping with our legal fund. So I'm going to turn it over to Patty so she can talk about that for us.
Hi there. I need the lapel microphone. So that was a lot of information, wasn't it? It's like, whoo, my eyeballs rolled back in my head. Good thing that we're filming that, so everybody can go back and review what it was because that was a lot to digest. So anyway, I have a tendency to think when I'm listening about action items. So while and evidence, I'm very much into measurable results, evidence. So when I was listening, I heard in December there was a case and it was thrown out. I heard in February there was an injunction that was granted. So for me at that time, just going back and when I first spoke, when I met Louis and Jackie, I'm so sorry, I know Jackie and I keep going. He forgets my last name, I forget her first. So, but anyway, when I went and I spoke with them, I was going through my stuff. And so, and at the same time, they had that lawsuit in February. So I got really stoked. I mean, I was like, you know what? This is some good news right here. And so I just continue to follow and listen to what's being said. And so today, what I heard over and over again was join together, fight the fight, and what is that going to take? And so I actually had gone to both of these two and said, I have an idea. So you guys tell me what you think about this. I think that if every person pays $50 a month each, if you have 10 houses, it doesn't matter. Just $50 a month. And so if there's 1,500 of us giving $50 a month, that they're going to have what they need and maybe even some reserves if they have to file other lawsuits to fight this fight. So I just, again, I'm a super simple thinker. So I said, let's propose this and see how it goes over, and make this a policy. So I'm willing to do that for sure. And then if I need additional help, if I need to get them to talk to me about alternatives, or I have court cases or whatever's going on that are my own, then there's the other bronze and silver and the other packages that one can buy into. So that's for their time. But ultimately, bottom line is, if I had to, I really just thought about this. If I had to fight this by myself, and I have great lawyers, I don't have the power to fight the county or the city. And they're bullies. They've already proven to be bullies. And, this is just I'd say a microcosm of what's happening at a much bigger level, where people are just saying, you know what, I've had enough, and I'm sick of feeling like this is Stalin, and I don't have a choice, and you're imposing this upon me. So, anyway, I really hope that you guys feel the same way that I feel. And in fact, I'm a volunteer, and I do hope that these two will accept me and go, you know what, we vote you on our board. Because at that point, what I want to do, I want to have fun. Let's do some special events. Let's start changing the conversation in the media. There's some media I would never talk to, and there's some media that would really do some transparent reporting to really support what we're up to and just align with like-minded thinkers. And I really think that's the solution, and start changing the conversation so we can reach those people that have been impacted by the negative reporting out there. So people really know we're not bad guys, and that there are people who run these properties and are really responsible, and they don't disrespect their neighbors and all the things that we've been accused of. I never have. So anyway, did I cover everything? Oh, okay, all right. So this, what is that?
You want to tell, or want me to?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead?
So to that effect, what we came up with was that in order for us to continue filing other actions against the county, like them issuing fines, continuing to issue fines and penalties, that's something that it has to be addressed now. I had a conversation with the attorney, and I told them, look, we have a lot of property owners that are still getting fines, a lot of property owners that are being shut down by the county. They're ignoring the injunction. What can we do? I mean, we cannot let the county continue to do this. This is ridiculous. So he, of course, gave the options, which was to, we either wait until this whole thing gets resolved, or we file another action against the county. And that's the action that I was talking to you about earlier, which is dragging the county back in front of the judge and saying the county is violating the injunction and they need to be stopped. So in order for us to do that, that again requires another legal action, another lawsuit basically against the county. So like Patty said, there's several things that are going to happen. I know the county, is always trying to do trying to do something. But I think you all will agree that when it comes to fines and penalties, it's something that we cannot let the county get away with, because you could face, huge fines. People already have, these huge fines, and some of them have not been able to appeal them because they cannot pay them. They cannot have an appeal or a hearing because they cannot pay them. So we already have to pay to the law firm $10,000 every month. That's the payment arrangement that we have made with the law firm. $10,000 every single month so that we can catch up with our legal bills. So far we've spent about $200 and something thousand in legal fees. But if we're gonna file another legal action, that means again more legal fees that we have to cover. Again, if you have to do this on your own, it will cost you about $20,000 to $30,000 just to file an action in district court. But if we can do it together, this is not going to take that much money. So, Patty, when we were having conversations about this, it's so hard for us to ask people to donate money, but we know that it's what keeps this thing going. So she proposed the idea that we require from every host, every property owner, to make a commitment of $50 per month. That's all you have to do, $50 per month. And that will allow us to catch up with our, pending outstanding balance and also file new litigation against the county. So for $50 a month, that's super cheap compared to $1,000 a day that you will get from the county.
When did this tax deductible for us too?
This can be deducted as a business expense.
Yeah, we can use this like a union dues, no?
Right. Yeah, so we created this, and it's on your tables so that you can sign up for this. It's a recurring $50 per month charge that will come out of your credit card or your bank account. And so we're asking for you guys to use your phone, use your camera, and that will connect you to the website where you can sign up to do that. It's super important to do that. Every single penny that comes to the association does not go to Louis, doesn't go to me, even though we're working more than full-time on this. We have people that call us, with their problems about fines and penalties or whatever other issues. We're there to try to help you guys, but it's just Louis and I. And we are volunteering every single minute of our time on this. And don't think that any of this money is going to us, because it's not. In fact, we have to take money out of our own pockets to do certain things for the association. So every single penny, whether it's this or whether it's any of the memberships, like the gold, platinum, all those memberships, all that money is going towards the legal fund, because to us that's the most important thing. It is the only thing that's important about what we're doing. Like Patty said, maybe later on in the future we'll be able to focus on other fun events, fun activities, but right now, this is the fight. This is it. This is the only thing that we have going. This is the thing that we have to win no matter what.
Oh, I forgot to say one thing. I like to have fun. So anybody, she says the fight is the big thing, but you got to have fun while you're fighting. And so my question to you guys is, anybody who wants to join and help me start creating just whatever to help, because I know these two are really going at it all the time. Like she contacts me at 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, exploring the inside of my eyelids. I'm not even, present. But if you really want to create change and impact change, I would love for you to jump in with me and help me with this as well and support. I just keep seeing these two in the ring and boxing and us around the ring going, come on, you can hit him hard, So anyway, it was so nice to be here with all of you tonight. I'm going to turn it back to Jackie.
Guys, honestly, this is the hardest part. We'll go to court, we'll go to Congress, we'll lobby, we'll do all that. Asking for money sucks, man. I don't like doing it. But But we have to fund this, and we need your help. Patty was the one that said, you know what, let's do this $50 a month recurring payment. Because I'm looking around the room and I see a lot of familiar faces that has given very generously. And we're hoping you continue to do so, and you're so much appreciated. You're what's making this fight possible. So what we're thinking is, budgeting this $10,000 a month is killing us right now. We've been staying on top of it, but what we're worried about is running out of money. Because the county's never going to run out of our money, are they? So we're hoping this $50 a month, if we could get enough people to do that $50 a month, we're going to be able to budget this in, we're going to be able to do our finances, we're going to get this figured out. You know, for some of us, we're just going to have to maybe cut out a couple of Starbucks trips every month or something. You know, we just need to get as many of you, please, to do this $50 a month recurring payment. It will make our fight that much easier. Because it's hard enough to fight this fight. It's a whole new other realm when you're also sweating and concerned about the funds and funding that fight. If you guys could just please join the platinum and the gold and the silver, whatever we set up there, that's fantastic. But if you can get this $50 every month, that is going to be huge. These are on a bunch of the tables. If you don't have one on the table, walk around, find someone that already scanned it. Guys, we would just appreciate this so much. I mean, this is investing in your future. This money, you're not giving this money away. This is investing in yourselves. It's your fight. And I'm telling you, we can stand here all night long and talk about how righteous we are and how great short-term rentals are, what we do for the economy, what we do for our families, what great hosts you are. But we're preaching to the choir, aren't we? You all know how awesome you are. You know it already. You know how great this is for your income, for your families. We need your help to make sure you can continue to do so and not be looking over your damn shoulder at code enforcement and worried about the government turning law-abiding citizens into criminals by telling them they can't rent out their properties for less than 31 days. So we're going to kick their butts in court. We're going to win this, and we're going to win it on a constitutional basis, and we're going to do it with your help. It's your help that's making this possible. So please, scan these QR codes and those other packages. If you want to do more, absolutely, they're all available. But right now, we are really pushing this $50 a month so we can figure out what the heck is going on. Take this all the way to the finish line, and everybody's going to enjoy the rest of their lives being a host, which they just want to be. They want to be left alone. So thank you very much. And one more time, I want to thank the Olive for hosting this. They gave us this space, guys, so please show your appreciation. Tip your servers. Really appreciate you. This was a great donated space. Thank you very much. Okay. Raise your hand if anybody has a question. Okay, I'm going to come give you the mic. What you got?
I was wondering, with regard to the lawsuit, what about the requirement to be owner-occupied? Is that one of the issues in the lawsuit? Because they're requiring us to be owner-occupied to get a license.
Yeah.
The owner-occupied, that's the city of Las Vegas, not Clark County. So no, that's, but owner-occupied is part of the county, whether it's whole home or...
All right, so yeah, that is only in the city of Las Vegas, owner-occupied. We are making a legal argument in the appeal that kind of covers that, not directly, but what we're using it against. There was a ruling recently in, I think, New Orleans, that actually struck down that restriction. It basically says, a lot of municipalities are using that. They're saying that we're only going to give licenses if you're owner occupied. You have to live in the home, otherwise you won't get a license. It's been struck as unconstitutional in other cities because it's a violation of the Commerce Clause. And the Commerce Clause basically says that you cannot, states or cities cannot pass regulations that basically prevent out-of-state or even out-of-city individuals from engaging in economic opportunities. So in this case, it wouldn't be applicable to the city of Las Vegas. We're not, again, making that legal argument directly, but indirectly we have put it in the appeal. And we are using it against the requirement to have a local representative or local agent. The ordinance requires people to have somebody that's local, that's available to reply to any complaint within 30 minutes. We're using that argument, the Commerce Clause, for that argument, but we brought up the issue of owner-occupied as well. What we're planning on doing, of course, after the whole lawsuit is done, it's to go back to the city of Las Vegas and let them know that they're violating the Commerce Clause, and hoping that they will look at that and actually change, and update their regulation. And that's another thing. The Nevada Supreme, the appeal case that we have with the Nevada Supreme is not only going to affect Clark County, it is going to become state law. So that means every single city in the state of Nevada is going to have to change their regulations to comply with whatever it is that we win at the Nevada Supreme Court. But yeah, just to answer the question, not specifically in this case, but indirectly we are arguing against them. Anybody? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's something very important to recognize. Depending on what we win in this lawsuit, that's going to affect all the municipalities. They're going to have to rewrite their ordinances, even the ones that passed. Also, I want to mention real quick, at the desk in the back, if you want a My Home, My Choice shirt, they're $25, and you can just scan the QR code and make it easy to pay up there. If anybody else has a question, this mic has a limited range, so I'm going to ask that you please walk up here and ask your question.
We'll go this way.
We can do a line right behind her. This would be perfect right here.
So I do not own an STR yet. I just came in from California specifically for this meeting. And I guess this is more directed to Patty. As an investor, would you suggest that I hold off purchasing a property for an STR, or should I just go ahead and do it?
I would go ahead and do it.
Go ahead and do it?
Why not?
There
Okay.
are ways to set it up.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Wait, I want to say something. And I appreciate Patty's answer, and that's her opinion. But I gotta say, as representatives from the Greater Las Vegas Short-Term Rental Association, right now we have to say, presently, they're saying it's against the law. And we cannot advocate for you to purposely break the law. We're going to fight for you, we're going to fight for your rights, and we're going to make this shit legal, right? But we're not going to advocate for you to go against whatever the current laws are.
Oh, did I say investment? I meant second home.
Oh, the second home, that's good. And remember, 31 days. 31 days and up is legal, but below 31 days, that's what we're fighting.
Hi there. I've been doing Airbnb for quite a while now, but I never leave my home. I'm always there when the customer comes. I never leave, never had a problem. Nothing's ever happened. Sometimes they want to stay for 30 days, and that's fine with me. So I don't know if that's against the law, but I've been doing this forever. And no, I don't have a license because I'm there in my own home. My home is set up where they can't go to any other area, but you know what they, you know.
Are you in the city or county?
I'm in the city. And also, this is just a comment. I don't like it because the government is trying to tell a person do and own a home. You're not making my payment. I'm making the payment. So why do I have to get permission from you to have somebody, whether I want a stranger in my home, what business is it of yours? And that's just how I feel. I mean, I may sound like a rebel, but that's how I feel. It's my place. But it's under control because I don't leave my home. When the customers come, I'm there. So it's no parties or anything like that. Thank you.
Just so to go back to her statement in question, she's in the city of Las Vegas, and the city of Las Vegas is the only way you can get a license if you're owner occupied. That means if it's your primary home and you live in the home, but it also has to be 3 bedrooms or less, and you cannot be within 660 feet of another short-term rental. So you're supposed to get a license in the city of Las Vegas in order to do short-term. Anything under 30 days, 31 days is short-term renting, and you need a license. So what we are arguing about the HOAs is the fact that the county and the state requires that the HOA has to have specific language in their bylaws. So the language that has to be in the HOA has to say that they allow transient lodging. And that phrase, transient lodging, is never in any bylaws of any HOAs. So it makes it difficult for them to have. So that means that the HOA has to vote and then change the bylaws, which would make it really difficult. What we're saying in court is like the county cannot tell the HOA what to do. The HOA has to decide on their own what they need to do. If the HOA decides to allow it, fine. If not, fine. But the county cannot require the HOA to do anything. But, and in answer to your question, yeah, I mean, you should, I mean, I don't know what your bylaw says, so you have to look at your bylaws. Yeah, so, you know, we can look at them if you have them, and you can show it to us. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It was nice to meet you and hear everything here today. I do have kind of a question I haven't been able to find out about. I know they had the lottery in the unincorporated Clark County, and they had 1,300 people apply, which from what I understand was not the 1%, didn't even come close to the 1%. Now I understand there's still issues with the 800 people. Is there anything going forward, say, for whatever reason those 800 people do get their license, whatever, are they going to open it up for the rest of the 1% to meet the cap, or is this anything does your lawsuit have anything to do with that?
So the way that the ordinance is set up is that the county opens the licensing every single year. So they're already a year and a half behind. So they're not going to license the way that everything is set up. They're not going to license the 800 people that are currently in there because of the distance restriction, right? So that would, you know, cap it because you still have to have the distance restrictions. Yeah. So so then what would happen is that since there's more licenses available, remember the cap is 2,800, right? So since there's more licenses available, then next year they would have to open it again.